Yesterday was the darkest day of the year, the winter solstice. It's the day when the darkness is the longest, and from here on we'll have more and more light. One of the biggest challenges that the church faces today is a darkness around our attachment to and idolatry of sexism, racism, and classism. I'm just going to leave that there on the screen for a moment. This trio of evil ideologies, sexism, racism, and classism, have been embedded in the American church from the time that Christianity made its way across the Atlantic with the first explorers. To study the history of the church in the United States is to study a long history of church-sanctioned injustice. We have injustice toward women and ethnic minorities who've been forced to live their faith from the margins. We have injustice toward the LGBTQ community. The story of the history of the church in the United States is about light mixed with the darkness of injustice. We will get to light today, but I'm going to start with some serious darkness. This is a dark time of the year, and the start of this message is dark. We'll get to healing today and to a better way forward, but I'm going to start with our wounds, our darkness. The story of the history of the church in the United States is about light mixed with the darkness of injustice. It's a story of Christians owning, raping, and whipping slaves, and of using black women as breeders to expand the slave industry. It's a story of the genocide of countless Native Americans in the name of manifest destiny. It's a story of denominations formed to serve one race while excluding others. It's a story of congregations moving from their changing neighborhood to the suburbs, so they don't have to be in fellowship with those people. It's a story of how much the church has lost credibility in secular culture as women and people of ethnic diversity are senators and physicians and lawyers and CEOs and professors, but in the church, those people are segregated, silenced, excluded, and invisible. It's a story of seminaries splitting over the right of women to be ordained. It's a story of battered women being told by pastors to go home and submit to their violent husbands so as to win them in meekness and silence. It's a story of a democratic nation in which poverty forces more than 45 million Americans to forego adequate health care because they cannot afford health insurance, while churches build sprawling campuses that resemble palatial resorts. It's a story of a church in darkness, diluted by some huge flaws. The church is in darkness. We are in darkness. We're all a part of this brokenness. None of us can claim, this is not my problem. We're called, all of us, by God to own and renounce our threefold attachment to sexism, racism, and classism. These attachments have wounded the church, and they have caused the church to wound the world for far too long. Painful self-reflection, repentance, and theological work are needed to retrieve the egalitarian ethos of the gospel. We must acknowledge the darkness of our hurt and harm so that we can move toward the light, towards something better. That's what Christmas is all about, something better through God. And that's what we're preparing for as we head toward Christmas, something better. Now, this is a lot. There's a lot of darkness around us right now, and that includes, again, literal darkness. So let's go back again to the darkness of the winter solstice for a bit of a breather on this heavy topic. I don't know about you, but it's hard for me with how dark it is right now. It's often cloudy. It gets dark at like 5 p.m. How do you navigate that? What do you do that helps? Like, do you have a sun lamp? Do you try to get outside whenever you can? How are you finding literal light right now? Let's pause and let's reflect on this time of year. Here's our first question for discussion. How are you finding light during this dark time of year around the winter solstice? What works for you? Let's take a moment and let's talk about that.